So it's 2024 and last year was a huge year for AI. I think this year is going to be even bigger. This video is about the stepping stones of adopting AI from easiest to hardest. I'm building a business that's the core of the product is using AI. And I was thinking, what kind of content could I put out about AI? And I guess the first thing I thought to talk about was how can you start adopting or literally trying out some AI like right now, thinking about how you can bring AI into your work. So whether you're building, software, or whether you're in a marketing or a sales or a HR focused role, how can you really start to innovate and build new products and new features that are very much AI centric? How can you reinvent user experience? And the biggest topic, which I'll touch on at the end, but probably deserves a video unto itself, how can you gain a data advantage in your industry and against your competitors? I've been using AI all week actually. I use a product called Midjourney. It generates images. It can generate photo-like images, but also illustrations. I'm using it to build illustrations for my website at the moment. Before I had tools like this, I would have had to have contracted an illustrator. I would have needed to have gone through several revisions with them, giving them feedback, and this process can take weeks and cost thousands of pounds. Generating images with Midjourney is pretty easy. You put in a prompt just like ChatGPT, but you describe the image you want to produce. In this example, you can see the prompt is flat design, illustration, simple with people and planet. And I was just trying to convey a message about the purpose of First Stage and that it's about a better impact for people and planet. So I just wrote this very brief description and it generated a whole bunch of images. Just like I used to work with an illustrator and they would give me 4 different versions, Midjourney does this too, and then I can narrow in on the ones I like, and then I can finally ask it to produce it in a bigger resolution so that I can then take it to Photoshop. In Photoshop, I take the color away, I colorize it again with a gradient of my color branding, and then I've got an image that looks good on the website. This kind of tool is something you could use right now in your imagery. If you're creating anything for social media, you really can be using it today. Of course, there's ChatGPT, and if you haven't had conversations about history, science, or your favorite subject, or if you're a coder and you haven't asked ChatGPT a question about helping you write some code, you really should get on this, immediately. These tools are readily available and easy for you to use right now. It's 2024 and you still haven't played with AI yet? Stop watching this video, go have some fun. Going further than just using some tools in your day job, how can you start to introduce AI into the product or service that you provide? Amazon's a really good example of this, having already implemented generative AI functionality above the comments section. Here you can see Amazon's got a summary of all the comments for this particular product and summarizes it and has even classified it into some tags. I've been finding this really useful, just checking out reviews and just getting a general gist of them. Are there places in the product or service you provide where you could generate some AI assisted content just to help your users or nudge them along a little bit? This is the kind of first stage of really being able to adopt some AI where you're not just using an AI tool, but actually you've built AI into your own product or service. The next level beyond that is more like what I'm doing with First Stage. It's when you start building new features or new products, and you can really think about how AI can be used right from the start of that product and service. So rather than it being a bolt onto your product, as you're building new features, as you're delivering new services, you really start to think about what's the AI way of solving this and how can AI be built in from the get-go. So for example, with First Stage, we're using AI in many different places. AI is used to interview candidates. It's used to summarize interviews into simple sentences so that at a glance, a hiring manager can quickly understand what skills the candidate has, what skills the candidate doesn't have. but it's also used to assess the CV, assess their application, and assess the interview, and give its opinion on whether the candidate meets that criteria. And it also gives a reason why it came to that conclusion. So when a hiring manager is reviewing a candidate, they can actually see the AI's suggestion, but also why it said that, and then it can see the source data for that as well. So you can see the interview. And so really AI has been completely built into this whole process. And in fact, before AI, you wouldn't really have been able to run a text-based interview and then come up with an assessment. So AI has really enabled new functionality to be built here. There's a next phase for AI adoption, which is really about reinventing your user experience. In future, what this is going to look like, you're going to have agents, say a travel agent, but actually that travel agent will be a piece of AI. And you will speak to it either through voice or through typing, and maybe through other sorts of websites and apps. But you will be instructing an AI to go away and look up pricing from various hotels, from airlines, and really looking into all of those different things that a travel agent used to do, maybe even booking some tours. It will collate all that information, then represent it to you. You'll then be able to say whether you like its suggestions, what improvements you'd like to make, and it will create a final instruction that you can then say, yes, please do book that holiday, and it will then go and book it all. What do you do at the moment? You go to a few different websites. Well, certainly I do. I use Google Flights, or I go to British Airways or a certain airline, and I'll look for flights to a location. I will look for hotels, usually on booking.com first, or something similar, maybe Google Maps. And I do all of that research. I go through all of those Google searches and look for all of that information. Then I collate it and I put it back together. AI is going to transform that. The user experience will become more akin to speaking to an expert or an agent, and you will be speaking to the expert and asking for their opinion, and they will be doing the research for you. So that user experience has completely transformed. The final point I really wanted to touch on was that about data, and actually how you gain an advantage within your industry and how you gain an advantage against your competitors. The real advantage that you're going to be able to gain will be the feedback loop between your users and them interacting with your product. Think about first stage. When you put a role live and you start getting the first applications through from candidates applying for that role, imagine that they weren't the right candidate. First stage will then ask the user, why are you rejecting this user? And then you'll be able to provide a reason. The AI will then make suggestions so that you can change the assessment criteria and adapt the interview questions so that you can really start to find the candidates you want to find. But the most valuable thing to first stage will be that interaction loop. When the AI suggested something initially, and then when users have changed it, why have they changed it? And as we get more and more users adapting and evolving their roles and criteria, we're gaining a unique data set that no other business has, because those interactions are only happening on our platform, and we can then begin to train an AI based on those learnings. And that becomes a core piece of intellectual property and an asset for your business that no one else has. And so what you're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years is businesses starting to really build on these assets, these data assets, and then start to leverage them in their products to make their products stand out against anyone else's. And that is what I'm super excited about. In 2024, it's going to be exciting. I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments.